Nigel McGuinness versus Bryan Danielson opened up the Grand Slam. And by the way, they seem like they had a fair amount of people for their standards these days, but that's again a big dark building, because however many they had, it wasn't half the capacity. So how many did they have there at the Slam?
According to WrestleTix, I don't know if this is the final number, but as of the next day, estimated tickets distributed 8,319.
Oh, that's better than we thought they were going to do. But what were they still selling tickets the next day?
Well, this is the fourth. I was wrong. It's not the third. This is the fourth Grand Slam. The first one, 2021, September 22nd, 19,079. The second one, 2022, 13,321. And then 2023, 11,263. And this one, 8,319. I'm going to put my money in next year. It's going to be 6,700.
Yeah, let's see. They went down 6,000, and they went down 2,000, and they went to 3,000. I'll put in 5,900.
All right, let's stick with this. Next year,
advanced prediction.
Next year, they're doing Grand Slam in Australia, so we're talking next year, Arthur Ashe, if they run it, and I guess that is questionable. We'll see. If they run it, I'm saying 6,700. You're saying 5,900.
Yeah, but it may be a moot point, because now that he's dead, has he left the place to somebody?
Not to AEW, that was for sure.
I just wonder, are they going to close it up now that he's passed on, or are they got somebody else in line to run it? You know, he was real hands-on. He was taking tickets and everything.
I don't know where you're going.
I'm trying not to talk about this television show. So,
Danielson versus Nigel McGuinness.
Yes, and I think Nigel McGuinness is a wonderful person. But the muddling of this story, let's talk about the muddled story first. See if I get this right, Brian, or help me explain this muddled story. Originally, it was going to be Danielson and Darby, right? For the title. That's what they had?
Darby, it had been established, won the right to a title match. Was it necessarily at Grand Slam? That's the only thing I'm not sure of.
Okay, but then the point is, Moxley, whether he's a heel or a babyface or in his mind the son of a sea cook or whatever the fuck is going on with him, came out and said on TV and said, after I put the plastic bag over Danielson's head, he ain't going to be able to wrestle at Grand Slam. You ain't going to be able to get your title match. How about you put the title match up against me? Which actually made no sense.
Well, you're right. That
still doesn't.
So according to Moxley, it would have been Darby's match in that promo. So yeah, you're right.
And then in that same television show that they had established that since Danielson wasn't able to wrestle Darby, he already had his world title match if he wanted it, that Nigel was challenging Danielson. But not for the title, just for a match. But then they started advertising it if Danielson shows up. If he's clear, well, if he shows up, why wouldn't he? You see where I'm going with all of this shit, right? So now, playing off of that premise that they have set, they came on the air with Nigel going to the ring, and all of the announcers, all 27 of them, nobody's heard from Danielson since All Out. No guarantee he'll be here. Nobody's seen him all day. I'm like, how the fuck could he be? If you're about to play this fucking guy's music on a national television program that's being broadcast live, wouldn't he have to be standing there in front of you? Help me.
There's no help. It's been laid out badly, but the fans there will forgive it because they got the match they wanted, which was Danielson versus Nigel, and I guess the match they want, which is Moxley versus Danielson, although after that Moxley match, I don't know how anyone could ever want to watch more of him ever. But we'll get there.
But back to this. So then they play Danielson's music and nobody comes out. And then Nigel gets the microphone and says Danielson is a coward and asks for a 10 count from the referee to be declared the winner of the match and for Danielson to be stripped of the title, even though it's not a title match, which the announcers actually even said. And then the referee gets to 6 on his 10 count. And then the final countdown starts playing. So there's another 200 grand. God damn it. Used to if Kerry Silkin went to the casino when they were in Dayton or whatever, there was a casino nearby and he lost a couple of $100, the Ring of Honor guys would go, oh shit, there goes Chicago. But it was to fuck. And they start playing this music and Jim Ross jumps in and says, what a great ovation for the champ. He hadn't come out yet. We still don't know if he's there. They just switched music. They were playing different kind of music. And then, this thing is snake bit, brother. And then when JR says that, Tony says, is he here? And then guess what? He walks out. And I'm like, what the fuck is this mess? So people.
And this is for a match that doesn't matter.
Well, and that's
this big entrance too.
That's where I was going with that. It matters to, it matters to. It matters to Tony Khan because he watched the Ring of Honor tapes. And it matters to Bryan and it matters to Nigel. And it matters to their friends. And it matters to the people that are still around, that are still watching wrestling, that watched the Ring of Honor matches in 2009, and all of those people put together that I just mentioned is a very small group. And the rest of the people know, again, even if they did a package for 1 week on TV that Nigel used to be a wrestler, and that was admirable that they did that, they're saying, here's a guy that hadn't had a match in 13 years, and he's an announcer. He's in there with the world champion of our company, and boy, it's going to be nip and tuck. Help me with that. It's so that Tony could give Bryan and Nigel and that very small group of really allegedly smart fans a feel-good moment on one of his big national television programs in New York City, in 20,000-seat building that's not half full. So,
and it didn't look. Again, they went a while. It was a competitive match. Danielson won as he should have, as anyone would have predicted he would have. But at times it was, and again, Nigel hasn't wrestled in a long time, and he probably shouldn't be working a stiff style, considering the layoff alone.
Well, they weren't working a stiff style.
Exactly. But they went the other way at times.
And again, their last match in Ring of Honor in New York was my first match back with Ring of Honor after TNA. That was 2009. And they were great matches. I'm not saying they weren't. And Nigel's in great shape he's had health issues and been out of the ring. He looks great for whatever his age may be. But this was a really inside match. And, it also, they wanted to kind of do a little bit of all the kind of stuff they used to do, but they went from World of Sport style wrestling to Nigel was trying to crush Danielson's arm with the steel stairs. So they went from World of Sport to World of Attempted Murder in the same match. And what they could have done with this is Tony could have said, tell you what, guys, the next time we do a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, then you should main event that. And Nigel, you call Danielson out. And Bryan, you accept what, however, but that's the audience they were going for. And this just makes no sense to put on their current flagship program. And nobody was going to get hurt because they didn't want to hurt each other. But part of the morbid attraction of their original matches was that somebody was always getting hurt. Because they were fucking beating the shit out of each other and
Yeah, they were physical
themselves.
matches. Those are really physical
Yes.
matches, and this wasn't that, and it shouldn't have been that, and it couldn't be that, and it was all right, but
I mean, they popped for Nigel's clotheslines. And as a matter of fact, at one point, Nigel hit a clothesline and got a 2 count, and then hit another clothesline and got another 2 count, and the people were really up. And then they sat back down because the people were ready for the comeback and the finish, but the boys weren't ready to give it to them yet. And they did some more stuff, and then finally, Bryan kind of got the label lock and not very tight. But then they were kind of jockeying out of it, and then he got back into it, not very tight. And then the network even fucked the finish up, because the idea was, as Nigel is about to tap out in the label lock, he's going to scream, "Thank you," which is a guy show respect to his old nemesis, right? The fucking guy with the audio button at TBS thought he said "fuck you" and bleeped the "thank you." So the goddamn announcers had to say, "I think he said thank you." Because the audio muted it where it's like, it's distorted. When he said "thank you," oh God.
It turns out this whole time Moxley's been telling us to go thank ourselves.
There you have it. So I guess now they're getting so gun shy about whatever these wild, crazy maniacs will say on this program that they're just bleeping anytime somebody yells something. But I hate to criticize these guys, but I got to criticize these guys. It just wasn't the venue, and it was too long, and it didn't help anybody but make them feel good in the end.
Is that the end for Nigel? Is he going to be like a wrestler?
Is this the end for Little Rico?
I mean, he did the Battle Royal in Wembley, and now this. Is that the end? Is he actually still in the middle of a comeback, or was it all just so he could have the match with Danielson?
No, from what it looks like to me now, I could be wrong. I have no inside knowledge, but it looks like to me everybody likes Nigel, and they should. Tony likes Nigel. You know what Tony does for his friends. So Nigel should get to wrestle in Wembley, and Nigel should get to have one more match with Bryan. I don't know whether this is a long continued comeback tour or not. But in that case, he should have just gone ahead and beat Danielson, because what the fuck?